All right, Steve, you haven't been here in a little while. I have two questions for you. One, um, why do you think Damian Priest is the worst wrestler ever? And two, um, well, actually, no, that's actually my only question. Why does Damian Priest suck so bad to you? Like, why do you always trash talk him so hard?
I'm
I want to
actually.
preface this. I want to preface this. I did not know that he was going to open the show with this. By the way, I
I
had
didn't
no
think you
idea.
did.
I had
I
no
didn't think you
idea.
did. No, I didn't. I didn't think you did, Eric. On a serious note, I don't think like Priest, quote sucks, or I don't think he's. I don't think he's awful. I'll say this, like I do think there's a place for Priest on like preeminent WWE programming and even like competing for titles. I just happen to think that like aside from like the every now and again once in a blue moon shot at like a main title like the world heavyweight or the WWE, I just think his stardom, like his character, not necessarily his work because his work's good. It's just more built for me like a US or intercontinental champion guy, even holding it. Like I still think he's solid. I don't know whether it's just because they've had, guys injured and on the shelf like, Roman and, Drew's out now, but he had been featured. They've just kind of had him on this pretty big run, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't say it's been like a failure by any means. I just don't think it's kind of hit like WWE may have like thought it hit, and so I do like overreact sometimes in our group chats and just kind of troll a little bit with Priest.
No.
And Eric gets mad, he gets defensive, but like on a
It's
serious
because of the
note,
Damian Pastor nickname, man.
Damian Pastor, yeah. Yeah, I start calling him Damian Pastor, just like putting a spin on his last name, just when I feel like disrespecting him. But on the real though, I definitely think like Priest belongs. Like, I think Eric actually, he and I were discussing, I think last week, like during the SmackDown last week, he's like, who would you like rather have, like Jay or Uso or Priest? Because I've kind of vocally not been a fan of this iteration of Jay Uso, and I said,
Yeah.
I'd probably rather have Priest. Like
Mhm.
I'll take his work in the ring and what you consistently get from him, even if it's like an average promo. It's not force fed, and you're gonna get a good match after. So overall. Priest is fine in my book. I'm happy with where he is now compared to where he was.
I remember my second question actually. I
Okay.
do I do have another question. Why
Yeah.
do you hate all baby faces? Is my other question.
Also, man, also these half truths. I love Sammy. I love Randy. I'm more like geared towards liking heels, but I don't think I'm alone in that. I just
Yeah, no,
and
that's
I also just
Yeah.
don't think there's been like I just don't know of how many people, like beyond like a couple in the WWE, like know how to be like a true babyface. Besides like just fans liking them,
yeah.
WWE fans like everybody, and that's cool. Like a lot of those dudes have gotten themselves over, but like you hear a lot of them, like even like Jay. It's kind of like the issue I had is like Jay's like this most, Eric would probably you would agree probably like for the last 6 months he's like a top three most over dude. Like when he comes out, like he's like every crowd is into it. And then he gets on the mic, and I don't know if it's like whether he's blown up or like and like he's just out of breath and just doesn't have the energy anymore, or like he just doesn't really have shit to say like as a baby face. Like and like when he
Yeah.
starts talking, it's like if you didn't know that he had this big catchphrase and like he had this song like this theme song, you'd be like, is this dude the baby face or is this dude the heel? So it's like there's a lot of that rolling around, I feel like right now.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I definitely think like and I think we said this on the show before. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we brought this up before where we're just in that era where like heels are cool, overt baby faces are lame, and the only baby faces that we accept really are tweeners.
Yeah. And really, honestly, Cody Rhodes is like the only outlier at this point.
Him
Yeah.
and Sammy.
And
Yeah.
Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn. They are the two outliers. Everybody else is like there's a cool sort of edge to them. No Adam Copeland,
Yep.
but there is like a certain like vibe to them that people like rock with. So
Yeah.
that makes them cool. But yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like even Penta, like, and I'm not saying he's like shown any heel tendencies, like, and like I'm sure like a big part of it is that I don't know how much English the guy can speak, but
But
like
the
you can,
aesthetic.
but it's the aesthetic that has him over. It's the like it's the shit that he's doing with his body language. It's his work. It's his song. Like it's his, you know, the kids say it aura now, like his swagger. Like that's
Yeah.
really what it is. He's not like getting himself over verbally as a baby face. He doesn't need to, but yeah, that's why I think I agree with Eric. Like like the prominent ones are Cody and Sammy and I think Randy at that point, even though he can always become a heel, like Randy can talk himself like and get cheers anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say Randy's one of those guys like because he spent the majority of his career as a heel. So it's
Mhm.
like that's
Right.
like his natural tendency is to go heel or to do heelish things. Like I think that's going to be when we get into the Cody Randy match. I think that's going to be a big part of that story. But we can get into it. What's up, everybody? This is Shane G, Steve Slobin, Eric G. We are here once again with Shoot Style Sessions right here on the Ethos Media Network, giving you our Night of Champions predictions right here. So we got an early show there in Riyadh. Um, we just finished up with SmackDown. So, what did you guys think of the SmackDown show before we get into our predictions?
I thought SmackDown was pretty enjoyable tonight. Um, there was a few things that I saw that I really liked. Number one, shout out to Julia winning the US title. That was kind of spoiled early on by WWE by posting it literally everywhere on social media
Yeah.
before,
And then
but
me by extension.
and then by you by extension. But I won't even blame you now. I won't
I
even blame
know.
you now because
I swear.
WWE posted it and they spoiled
I
it. So
swear.
yeah, I won't even blame you for that now. So yeah, yeah. Shout out to Julia. I think the SmackDown tag team division is heating up something very serious, and I'm very interested to see like where it's going to go because we can have a deeper talk about this if you want to because right now I don't think it's time to take the belts off the Street Profits just yet. I was telling this to Shane earlier, but I also think that the Wyatt Six being intermixed is interesting. I think that all the other tag teams circling around the belts is very interesting. And even the way that the match ended, like, I don't mind it being a DQ finish so much in this case because of where I think the story is going. And it's really all everybody wants a shot at the belts. And I like that.
They feel really important. They feel hella important because so many people want them. So many people are going after them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you make a belt feel important right there. Like, those tag belts feel super duper. Like, because you got to think, there was a time when like this is more of a territory thing, but there was a time in wrestling where like tag matches would regularly main event a big show. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't always the world title that was main event. Like tag teams could main event. Like that kind of fell off in the 80s. But you know, the tag team champion, they're the world tag team champions. Like you're supposed to be, it's almost supposed to be looked at as equal to the world heavyweight title. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't been like that for so long that that sounds crazy, but that is what it's supposed to be. Like you're the greatest combination of wrestlers on the world that are unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the fact that so many teams are like really like putting their all into trying to get these belts. Like I really like that. Um so yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. You know, I predicted that early though. Like as soon as they were walking out, I was like, because Eric he did say that he was like, I don't know, I don't think the Street Profits that you lose yet because this has been like a relatively short reign so far, but the Wyatts don't need to lose either. I was like, yeah, I don't know how they do this, but they're gonna do something. And then immediately everybody started coming out, Los Garza and all of them. It was like, oh, okay, got it. Schma's ending. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's Shane. I was gonna kind of start being a little bit more critical on my take of it until I listened to you explain it. So I definitely do understand your viewpoint on it. It does feel like a little bit time fillerish to me, and I'm not demeaning the talent in the division competing for the title because I definitely think like it's more prominently like featured than Raw's tag team division. But like on the same token, it just feels like
I feel like
I'd
that
like to
division
just
doesn't even exist on
it
Raw.
doesn't even exist. I agree.
Yeah.
Eric touched on that too, but the SmackDown division, like I would just feel like I'd like to see a little bit more time. Like I kind of wanted to see a clean finish tonight. Like get the Street Profits a clean finish. It doesn't. It's okay if you have some buffoonery like involved in it like they had, but I just feel like just the match ending early, so some spots can get in with like the Wyatt Six. I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to go in on this division, which is supremely talented, and then you just added a team with Andrade and Ray Phoenix, that could be super cool. Like I, I feel like you should be working on the Street Profits becoming dominant, like you said, because they've been in the game in WWE for a long time now. I would say that besides the Usos when they're together, and then obviously the New Day, I think they're easily the best tag team in WWE. And
And then the most established.
they're the most established, and it's like it's time to like it's okay to I feel like there's a balance that you can strike between involving a lot of the teams that are so desperately competing for that top prize, but like also pushing your current champions, because it feels like one week are they working babyface, are they working heel? Like I don't know what they're doing. They're great when whatever they're doing, they're great, but it's just like make them more of like the front and center of the division.
Plus, especially the more blending with other companies that they do, the more that their guys are on TNA, the more that their guys are, going back down to NXT doing stuff, and now AAA, because
Mhm.
Los Garza are the AAA tag team champions right now. So,
Mhm.
and from what I've seen, they're getting babyface reactions when they're in AAA, but they're clearly heels in
In
WWE.
WWE.
You know what
Right.
I mean? So that's an interesting dynamic that you could play off of if done the right way. We saw it done, back in the day with Canada and the United States, and by extension, England or the UK and the United States, whereas the Hart Foundation, there were good guys there, but bad guys in America. And then Stone Cold and them, it was vice versa. They were bad guys in Canada, but good. So there's a way to make it
Yup.
work if they want to play into that. But it's like, how much
But
are
you got to play it the
they,
right way.
and how much are they like,
How much
putting
are
the
they
fact
carrying?
that they're the tag champions of AAA on the forefront. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah.
showed it a
Yeah.
little bit, but like they didn't come out with their belts. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If that's me, I'm wearing those belts. I'm having them wear the belts everywhere. Look at our other
Facts.
product, AAA.
I agree.
You
I
know what I
agree.
mean? Like, why wouldn't you advertise them? So that's interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes though, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, but y'all ready to get into oh yeah, shout out Julia as well. Definitely think she's gonna be a solid US champion for sure.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, let's get into
let's
the
get
show.
into it. Yeah.
Let's get into it. The first match will probably, I assume they're gonna open up with, is gonna be Jade versus Asuka. Steve, hit us with your pick.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this, and I think it is dependent on a few things. I think the main thing is, when does Bianca Belair return? I think we're all kind of assuming that whenever she does, I think that's going to eventually get revealed that her and, she was behind Naomi, doing what she did to Jade, and, she's gonna eventually screw Jade over in some form or fashion. But after more thought, I don't think it's going to be until SummerSlam. So with that said, um, I'm gonna go with Jade to beat Asuka. Although I hope Asuka does win because I would just love to see Asuka Io Sky for the Women's World Championship.
Yeah, I would like to see that too.
But
Eric,
I'll
who you
go
got?
Jade. I'll go Jade.
You know what? I don't have much to add here. I'm gonna actually echo everything that Steve just said. I think that Jade, with the story that they're telling, it feels like Jade should be the clear winner here, especially with Naomi being so involved and with the eventual return of Bianca, because that story still has yet to be completed. So yeah, I have Jade winning, but I agree with Steve. I would love for Asuka to win because I would love to see Asuka versus Io, and I do think we are going to get that at some point, just not yet.
Question for both of you before I give my prediction. Do
Sure.
you think that Bianca turns heel by attacking Jade?
It depends on how the crowd responds to it, really, because if she does attack Jade, this could be a situation kind of like how when remember when they tried to turn Becky Lynch heel by attacking Charlotte, but then the crowd cheered because
Yeah,
they
but that's a little
because
different because the crowd was already they already wanted a reason to boo Charlotte and they wanted a reason to cheer Becky. You know what I'm saying? So that gave them a reason to do it. So in this case, it feels like the opposite, where the crowd wants a reason to boo Bianca. So it feels like if
right.
she
Oh,
attacks Jade for no reason, then it's
shit.
like, you gave us the reason. Now we can boo you and not feel bad about it. Like, you
But
know what I
see
mean?
here, here's why I said that, because in this day and age, I agree. Well, I agree with everything you just said, but in this day and age, I think it'll have the opposite effect of what you're saying. I think the crowd will cheer Bianca because they've been waiting on her to turn heel for so long. So
See,
I think
Yeah, I
and
I
think
Steve,
think it'll
jump
have
in
the
a second,
opposite
but I
effect.
almost think it'll be the opposite. I think they'll, because they want to boo her, this will give them a reason to boo for a while. And then eventually, because we love heels, they will begin to cheer her again, even though she's not really going to do anything to become good or get cheered. You know what I'm saying? Steve, what do you think?
so. Yeah, like this is the $1 million question, and Shane, I completely like get where you're coming from, but I again, I think I'm in lockstep with Eric here as to why I think the crowd's booing Bianca because I think they're just tired of a stale character, and they know it's kind of not Bianca's fault per se.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the Bailey thing when she was a baby face for a while, and people like didn't really hate it. You don't really ever hear any like vitriol towards like fatigue, but like you could just tell the pop isn't there anymore for Bianca when she comes out on the babyface shit. So I think, well, to answer your question first, how will it happen? I don't see how it doesn't involve her attacking Jade in some way. So yeah, I'll go with that as the reason. But I think it's gonna be a huge pop. Not only because of the Bianca thing. I don't think people are all that hyped to cheer for Jade Cargill, even though she'll be presented as the babyface in that situation.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. She has more natural heel energy because she's very arrogant. You know what I mean? Like arrogant characters typically are easy to boo. Like that's just kind of it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like so
Yeah.
I could see that. That makes sense. And
Yeah.
even though Bianca is like Bianca's arrogance comes off as more just confidence, whereas Jade's comes off as arrogance. You know what I mean? And there
Right.
Empty
is kind of a
arrogance.
difference. So
I
I could see
I
that.
think I think the Bianca thing is going to be interesting because we've seen Naomi, in my opinion, pull off the best heel turn of the year so far of any wrestler in any big promotion. I think it's been she's done such a perfect job with like because there's been opportunities for fans to want to maybe cheer um Naomi doing heel shit, but she's so good on the mic and getting herself heat and people pissed at her. I'm really excited for Bianca because I think she's capable of doing the exact same thing.
Well, yeah, she definitely is. Like her whole NXT run, she was a heel. Like people forget that a lot of times. Like Bianca's done the heel thing before. Um, just not really on the main roster. Not on the main roster at all,
Not
actually.
at
She's been a
all.
Yeah.
babyface the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. As far as my prediction though, I'll go against the grain. I'll pick Asuka. I think people are hyped to see her back. I think Jade is somebody that character wise and presentation wise makes all the sense in the world to be in the main event scene, but her in-ring work is still, in my opinion, not, it's gotten slightly better, but it's still not where it needs to be a world title contender to me.
We're in agreement.
You know, that was kind of, you know, her issue at AEW also. Like, all of her matches had to be designed one way because she didn't have the skill set. That's why when she signed to WWE, they kept her off TV all that time. Like, there's a certain, even, and this is something that I've pointed out before, like in different group chats and stuff like that, but I even think when you would watch her and Bianca come to the ring together and Bianca would do the little bounce to the beat, Jade would be off beat a lot of the times. And I'm just like, Jade just naturally doesn't really have rhythm like that. And this isn't a shot. This is just what I've noticed. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just doesn't really naturally have rhythm like that.
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm
I've
saying?
noticed,
Like,
I've noticed that too.
Like the second Naomi took her spot, it looked so much more natural with her and Bianca bouncing back and forth, and they just looked in sync. Whereas Jade, it just never looked like that. Like, so it's harder to have, I think, like that in-ring chemistry with people when you just naturally don't have the rhythm. So I think that limits her ultimately. You know what I mean? So I don't think she's ready personally to be in that position. So for me, and people are excited to see Asuka back. You know what I mean? She's been gone for over a year. People love Asuka. She's one of those people that can be, even when she's a heel, people just love her because she's Asuka. And I think the people kind of want to see it. So I'm going to go Asuka, actually.
I hope you're right, Shane. I really hope you're right.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be fire. Let's see. Who do we have next? Eric, you can go first on this one. We have Cody Rhodes versus Randall Keith. Who you got?
Oh boy, we're going heavy with this one. Okay.
Yeah, we're going Queen and then we're going King.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'll keep it short and simple on this one. I got Cody. I think the story is set up right now for him to be the one to take the belt off Cena. I think Randy, I don't really know where I see Randy going, like, after this, like, per se, as far as like what his like next goals will be, as far as like going after maybe Gunther or something like that. But it's as far as Cody right now, it just feels like everything is lined up for him to be the one to take the belt back off of Cena. And it already feels like they're priming up Cena to kind of turn back babyface like pretty soon. So with all that in mind, I don't think it will hurt Cody or Cena in any way if he's the one to eventually end up taking the belt off of him. So in this case, I got Cody winning.
Yeah, I think I agree ultimately with pretty much everything you said. I personally, while I would like to see Randy get his 15th title at some point, whether it be the World Heavyweight or the WWE, doesn't matter to me. One of them, that'll be cool. I would actually like to see him go for a mid-card title, just because it'll make the mid-card scene more interesting and it'll elevate one of the titles, because I feel like really all the work that Gunther put in for the US or for the Intercontinental title, I feel like, I mean, granted, Dom's injured, so that's part of it, but I don't know. I feel like it almost immediately lost its luster. Like, Sammy did good, but it just, I don't know. Like, it feels like Gunther put in a lot of work and it didn't really kind of stick.
Let me sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. You don't think Bron Breakker had a good run?
I do think Braun Breaker had a good run.
I did
Also,
too.
Okay. Yeah, I was like,
Um,
Braun Breaker had a pretty good run with it.
yeah, I do think Braun had a good run.
Minus that little interruption that they do with Jey Uso. Besides that, Braun
but
had a
see,
really
little
good
shit
run.
like that is kind of the issue. I think, like
Yeah.
the little
Jey
Jey
Uso is
Uso
the issue.
run, like because isn't Braun? Is he a 3-time champion because of little interrupted runs like that? Because there was one other one too,
Two
wasn't
time.
there?
I
Or
think
is it
I
just
think it's
two?
just twice. I think it's just
Okay,
two.
I'm
I think
like,
twice.
but
I think twice.
yeah, but even still, like the U.S. belt, like I just it feels good now because Jacob has it, so that feels important, and that's good. Um, even if Solo had it, like if Solo beat Jacob, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he did, that wouldn't like
Wait,
I don't know. I just want to see them do more, and it would be cool to see Randy Orton go after a title like that, and like maybe kind of do what Cena did with the U.S. title for a little while.
Ah, I see what you mean.
oh,
Okay.
Just something like that, like just to get him away from the world title scene for a little bit, have him doing something cool, and
Yeah.
meaningful, and then okay,
Yeah.
now we can throw him back in there like later when the Cody story's done or whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
But you
saying?
have
Like,
Cody. But you have Cody winning this one too.
yeah, ultimately, yeah, I feel
Okay.
like
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward. Steve, who you got?
Yeah. I'll go Cody too. I'd obviously love to see Randy win. Randy's the G, but yeah, I think this is set up not only for Cody to win, but I think we're going to start seeing bits and pieces and breadcrumbs of Cody's eventual heel turn. I feel like anyone who's paid enough attention has seen very, very subtle hints of it, but like it's very purposeful and it's not on accident. And I think you're going to to see Cody show some fangs, if you will, in this match to beat Randy. You kind of start hearing the desperation in his voice of how badly he wants to be WWE champion again. It's like finally setting in with how he lost the match. I don't think and I feel like he's going from it from the angle of like I got clowned because of me. And not because of like John Cena's like a bad person. He kind of can't like I feel like he's been talking like I should have been doing that. Like I'm going to be the one to do that, and I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me. Like he didn't speak last week in SmackDown. He made it a note right to Randy Orton's face that he hasn't had a chance to speak, and it's time for him to. You can start to see this different Cody come up. So with that said, you know, Cody's going to win this match, and I think Cody's going to go on to beat Cena at SummerSlam to reclaim his championship.
I also think that, to your point, that we're going to see a more ruthless Cody. I think Orton is going to want to be that ruthless guy, but can't do it because he respects Cody too much. Like,
Yeah.
I think babyface Orton is actually going to cost him because,
Yeah.
he keeps saying, I love you like a brother, but I'll do whatever it takes to drop you, blah, blah, blah. I think he's going to hesitate. I think he's going to maybe have a moment where he can punt him and he's going to run up and then stop himself from doing it. And then Cody's going to take advantage, maybe with a low blow, Cena style, or, something like that.
An eye rake or something.
It's going to
like
be,
that.
Something.
Yeah.
But that's
It
kind of
won't
the
be
way
it won't be a low blow because that'll be too obvious. It'll be something subtle to where it's like it's still a heelish move, but like the commentator will play it off like, oh, did Cody have to do that? Like, did he have to
grabbing tights on the
stick to
pin.
that level?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah,
Something
exactly.
subtle. I agree.
Yeah.
something
Or it'll be like a
subtle.
last minute tight grab to where it was like, oh, was he just trying to keep his balance or was he cheating? It's questionable.
Oh,
So
it'll
we
be a
can't
Michael
say.
Cole. It'll be a
but-
Michael Cole
Yeah,
masterclass
it'll be
and
highly
shut
questionable.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a Michael Cole masterclass
Yeah.
with how he passes off the fuck shit that Cody's about to do.
Yeah, you
Jesus
already know.
Christ, Michael Cole's gonna lose his mind.
Y'all are gonna get some rage text from me on Michael Cole tomorrow. I swear.
All right, moving on. This one I think is interesting. Steve, who you got for this? We got Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez.
I was actually
Is that R cubed? Yeah.
yeah.
R cubed.
I don't want to make it sound disrespectful to Raquel, as I actually am interested in just watching the match itself because Raquel's actually kind of been a little bit more interesting as of lately. But like making a joke to another buddy. I was like, this is one of those matches where it doesn't matter if the odds are minus 2,000. You go and you place 10 or $100, because even if you win 20 cents more, it's going to be 20 cents more than you had before you made the bet.
Right.
This is Rhea Ripley all the way. I think the match will be, I don't think it's going to be like a squash by any means. I think it'll be a fun match. But this is a prime spot for Rhea to get a nice, like, bounce back win and start, I'm sure they're going to start throwing her in a world title picture of some sort. And this is kind of where you start.
Eric, do you agree?
You know, up until earlier this week, I agree with everything that Steve said. However, because of the Liv injury, I think a lot of circumstances have now changed to where the Raw women's division has kind of had to reset itself, and now they kind of have to figure out what to do. So, because of that, I actually think Raquel is going to win. And here's why. I think Raquel is going to win because I think Roxanne is going to help. I think that ultimately what's going to happen in the future is they're going to do the what is the rule that it's called, Shane? I don't remember
Freebird?
the name. Yeah, the Freebird rule. I think they're going to do the Freebird rule. I think Roxanne is going to end up being the new women's tag team champion with or with Raquel. And then whenever Liv comes back, they'll have that feud, and then that's how we get that whole split. But for right now, I think to establish that, you need to have Raquel get a big win here. And I will agree with what the first part of Steve said as well, that this is probably the best Raquel has looked on the main roster since she
Kind of
probably got started. She was all right when she was a babyface when she first won the tag belts, but this is probably the best that she's looked, period, since then.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I don't really have too much to add. Eric, that's what I think is gonna happen too. I got Raquel because of Roxanne interference, trying to prove herself as a member of the Judgment Day.
Okay.
Raquel's been softening up to her a little bit lately, so this helps aid in that. So then, Raquel starts kind of vouching for her or whatever, or she's torn, when Liv comes back. It's sort of the same thing as the Dom story between Rhea and them, but more so based on Raquel and Liv's friendship with Roxanne. Sort of, and it may not even be a thing where she's purposely trying to split up their friendship. She just wants to be cool with everybody, but Liv just doesn't accept it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a few different ways that you can. It'll obviously be similar to the Liv Rhea Dom story, but there's a different way that you can spin it to where it's different enough. You know what I mean? To where you could realistically break up the Judgment Day at this point, because it's been like 4 or 5 years. Like,
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're kind of past it now at this point. Finn Balor needs to be doing something else. Dom is a star on his own now. We're good.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. I'll start off with the next one, and this is for the United States Championship. We have Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. I have my instinct tells me Jacob retains. The only way that Jacob doesn't retain, I feel like, is if all the Tongans come back, like including Hikuleo. Like if Hikuleo and Tama Tonga and Tongaloa all come back to help out Solo and join up with JC Mateo, then possibly Jacob loses. Or they all jump him right after the match. I could see that too. And then just have some sort of display of dominance or whatever. But I think overall I got Jacob retaining though. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. Eric, who you got?
I got Jacob retaining. I think you're right. I think that those comebacks are coming, and I think that the debut of Hikuleo is coming. Um, he did already have a dark match on SmackDown, so we definitely know that that debut is like super imminent. Um,
I
but I
didn't know that
do think,
actually, but dope.
yeah, yeah, but I do think this depends on really two things. Number one, it depends on if Jimmy Uso is going to get involved and help Jacob. And then number two, which is the thing that a lot of people are not thinking about right now, is if Jay Uso gets back involved and helps out along as well.
I don't think
Because
so.
the rumor has it is that they're looking for a storyline reason to bring Jimmy and Jay back together.
Yeah, I don't think he
So
just volunteers the help though. I
I
think
don't
that
think he will either.
happens. I think Jimmy asks him, like, yo, ooh, so we're getting
Yeah,
jumped over here. Jacob's cool. Don't trip. Can you come help
yeah,
us? And then
yeah.
sure. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah, I don't think. Oh, so when I bring up the Jay thing, I don't think it's gonna come right like at Night of Champions. Like,
Oh,
it's
okay.
not gonna
Okay.
happen right
Gotcha.
away. Like, I do think that that is, like you said, Shane. I do think that is gonna take some time, but I do think that just depending on if Jimmy gets involved and helps Jacob like secure his and retain the title, then I do think that the J possibility does come later down the line. But as far as just the overall, like, I don't think all the Tongans are coming back right away, but I do think that the possibility of Hikuleo debuting is highly imminent.
I think they all debut together. Well, I think he debuts when they return. That's my prediction. Steve, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your last point, but we'll bring it kind of back to my what my prediction is. I hate to pick against my boy Solo Sikoa, who's like quickly been one of the more entertaining dudes in WWE television. Period. I'll stand on that. It does not matter what TV show that WWE has or any promotion. Solo does some of the best work of anyone in terms of getting people entertained on the mic and, in the ring. Like even if he's not a high flyer, he's telling a story there and it's very clear. But yeah, I gotta pick Jacob here. I don't see how they're gonna take the title off him. Now, I'm not to say that Jacob won't get an ass whooping like after the match with JC Mateo or whoever before Jimmy comes back out and they kind of fight off. But I don't see how Jacob doesn't win this. I think they're gonna keep the belt on him for a while.
Yeah, I think so. That's what because again, he is similar to Gunther in this way. He's somebody who you immediately took serious, like the second he debuted. You were just like, oh,
Yeah.
he's a credible threat. You know what I'm saying? Like people were talking about him versus Roman immediately. Like upon the debut, they were like, "Oh, we want to say." And these are people who didn't have any knowledge of his background. Like they might have loosely heard the name in passing, but it's not like they were going and digging up MLW matches to watch his old work or watching GCW matches. You know what I'm saying? Like this was really their introduction for the majority of people. So for him to
Right.
have that type of impact and Gunther his wasn't as fast because he was still around in the Vince era a little bit, so he didn't have the greatest booking, but that pretty quickly got rectified, and he was the dominant Gunther that we know and love today. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we took him pretty serious pretty quick.
No, we
Yeah.
did.
So Jacob has that effect to where he can raise, the stock of the U.S. title, just by being Jacob Fatu and having banging matches and continuing, his authentic vibe character. Like he's almost like a West Coast version of what you think you would get from like a Damian Priest in a way.
Yeah. I'll see what you mean.
I have
Like,
a
you know what I
point
mean?
here.
Like
Yeah.
when you look at Damian Priest, you think you're gonna get an East Coast New York version of Jacob Fatu, but that's not what comes out. Like he tries it sometimes, and I think that's some of that inauthenticity that Steve, you know, has a gripe
While
with.
you're
And
on
it's like, he doesn't
Shane,
sound doesn't sound authentic. I'm like, yeah, that's that thing right there.
Shane, while you're on the topic of Jacob Fatu, and I agree with all the points you made, it's kind of interesting to see the dichotomy between Jacob Fatu, who came, to WWE and basically started as a valet slash bodyguard for a newly established Solo Sikoa, and then you kind of look at basically the Jacob Fatu of Raw since he's come back, which I think is Braun Breaker, and
Hmm.
he started basically off rip dominating as like a single star, and so. Fatu and Braun were kind of booked differently. One kind of started at the bottom in terms of like role. One started way more at the top. And you kind of see with the booking that they've each gotten and where it's favored. And this isn't me poking any holes at Jacob Fatu as he's completely earned it. But I can't help but shake my head when I watch Raw and I kind of watch the this version of Jacob Fatu just in a way different package with Braun
Hmm.
Breaker. And he went from basically being a badass intercontinental champion to, and we could talk about this in a minute and like touch on the bigger story of that faction, but basically a lackey and goof in a Walmart bloodline stable at this point. And it's kind of disappointing for me. And I don't want to make this about Brian because we were talking about a match with Jacob Fatu and Solo, but it's just kind of disappointing to see where he is right now compared to where Jacob Fatu is.
Yeah, like they almost had the exact opposite trajectory. It was like Braun
Mhm.
started here, Jacob started here, and then they kind of went like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is interesting to see, but I think Braun's another one of those people, kind of the same vein, where you immediately take him seriously. So
Mhm.
people are already just anticipating him turning on Seth.
It couldn't be soon enough, in my opinion.
You know what I mean? Like that's
It
the
will.
Yeah.
It won't be.
whole
It won't be
story.
till. It won't be until the Mania match because I think that will be the Mania match. But like, and again, well, I guess we can table the discussion on that faction, and I'd like to talk about it at the end here. But let's keep going through
Yeah.
the matches.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Did everybody get any predictions? Right, we all got Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
All
got
right,
Yeah.
cool.
Jacob.
All right, Eric, you let us know who you got in the main. We have Jonathan Cena versus Charles Michael Punk.
Michael Punk or
Charles
Montgomery Punk,
Michael Punk.
whichever you want to call him.
Pepsi Phil.
Boy, oh boy, this is one of those where I would love to see Punk win um another WWE title right now, but it's just again just with uh even some of the predictions I made earlier, it's just not his time yet. I do think he will win it at some point before he retires, but I just don't think it's just not his night, kid, as most people would say. Yeah, no, I got Cena winning this one. I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. Now that's the interesting thing. I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. I don't know how
Right, because he
Cena is
obviously
gonna
doesn't
fuck.
win clean, right? Like,
Yeah, like Cena is obviously gonna fuck him over somehow, but I just don't know exactly how it's gonna happen. Um, I don't, I don't know if we see a failed cash-in attempt or anything like that. I don't think so. Like, I think we're probably gonna hold off on that. I think they'll probably just keep it strictly Cena and Punk, barring Cena has any extra shenanigans up his sleeve.
do you
Now, I
think that
think
could
that
be
that's
the
possible.
catalyst for the Cody heel turn? Actually, like, let's say Cody's flirting with being a heel all the way up until SummerSlam, but he never fully turns. Excuse me. Then he beats Cena for the title. Seth cashes in on him immediately. He snaps.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that happening for
That's
sure.
interesting. That's an interesting.
Especially because there is a clear story that they're telling right now between. Well, actually, no, it's not clear, but it's like a one of those underlying. It's one of those underlying clear things where it's like if you're paying attention, you know.
Yeah.
But they are telling a story between um Seth and Cody at the moment because every time they see each other, there's like all this tension. Seth whispered something in Cody's ear for 1 week. And then I think one week Cody came out to save Jay, but Seth didn't attack Cody. They just like had that like stare off or whatever. So there's definitely a story that they're telling there, but I just don't know if it is going to culminate in Seth actually cashing in on Cody, or if like it's one of those things where it's like he's been telling him all along, like, "Hey, I'm gonna cash in on you if you win that title, and this is what's gonna happen. Like, I'm just letting you know, like up front, and we just don't know about it yet." So it's definitely a possibility.
What you got, Steve?
Man, I love everything that Eric said there. You know, he opened up a lot of different boxes as to where it goes, and I've thought about this every which way too. I'm gonna go with my pick first, but I'm gonna go with my two scenarios after. I ultimately am going to pick. Um,
John Chaney.
no, I'm gonna pick um, CM Punk, and
Oh, okay.
Hey, I like you going
I
against the
think
grain.
I think that for whatever reason, I don't think Punk came to this country without a written in contract way long ago that he was winning the title coming here. And
Like if I
that's one part of
go,
it. What the second part of it is I don't the only reason I would not pick him is if Drew McIntyre comes back in this match, which I think people are severely underselling. Even though he's not cleared to wrestle, and I'm sure he's taking a break, he is, I think, in Saudi Arabia. He
mm,
posted a picture with Jinder Mahal and I forgot who else was in three man band. Maybe
3MB.
yeah. And so I unless that happens, you know, and if Drew does kind of turn the tables and, you know, basically the opposite of what Punk did last year in Saudi Arabia to Drew, unless Drew comes there and you know, and fucks over Punk, I think Punk's winning because I don't see anyone else really getting involved. Um, and I think Punk unless they, you know, book Punk to kind of do the same job that Cody and Randy did, I just think Punk's just a way different dude, and I don't think he's gonna go for that. So we'll see kind of what transpires though. I'm excited to see that.
So I'm gonna throw a curveball out there that nobody has mentioned that people have probably written off just because there's been absolutely no build on this ever since it happened. But what if The Rock comes back? Here's why I say that.
Oh,
Here's the only
okay.
reason I say that.
No, I like that.
Mm.
I
The
like that.
only
He's
reason
there.
I say that is one, it's Saudi. That's a huge show. So
Yeah.
like that's one of the ones that I would imagine that he might be a little more involved in. You know what I mean? Two, the Saudis like having the really big stars at these events. You know what I mean? Even if they don't necessarily know what's going on, they love having the big names and they'll pay for the big names. Three, CM Punk talk shit about The Rock all the time. So that's the one person that it makes sense for him to get involved. He's always
Yeah.
Dwayne. He's always
Yeah.
Balls
so what if
fraud.
Dwayne shows up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, you're right.
that's a
You know, that's a
curveball.
really good point. That's
It's a
a really good point.
curveball,
I've
but
already prepared him to disappoint us and not show up. I'm not expecting anything with The
Yeah, I'm
Rock.
not,
I'm
not
not
expecting that
expecting it
either.
at all. But I just thought about
I
it right now
I like that
because when
though.
you said there's nobody there to interfere, he's the only person that I was like, well, there's one person where it actually makes
For
sense.
sure. I agree with that.
But
Yeah.
that's a long shot. So, um, I also think Cena's winning just because, for petty, media related reasons, he's promoting a movie right now. You know, he was on the Breakfast Club, he was on the Tonight Show. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got a movie in theaters right now. So WWE, what better way to capitalize on your product than to have your WWE champion parading around doing all this movie promo at the same time? So, you know, for me, I'm going to look at it from that aspect too. And I'm like, yeah, why would you take the belt off of him right now? Like,
Yeah.
so
And to me, as far as Punk goes, the bigger WWE title feud for me is him versus Cody whenever Cody gets it back.
I agree.
Yeah. Or him and Roman.
Or him and Roman.
Him and Roman.
I like him and Roman just because, for the same reasons as him and Seth. Like, you've never beat me one on one, so we gotta see what's up now.
Yeah, we gotta run that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Well, anybody got any closing thoughts before we get up out of here for the night? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Stevie.
let's talk about the Bloodline Timu faction.
Eric went there immediately.
Since they don't have a real name yet. So
They don't.
I'll open this up, Steve, only because like me and you have been talking a little bit about this through text message, but I think the idea really started off well, right? Because I think Seth's heel run up until he linked with Paul Heyman was pretty good. Like, I think that he was leaning into that like Messiah-esque character a lot. Like a lot of the shit that he was saying on the mic like made sense, like his motivations made sense. But then it seems like ever since he linked up with Paul Heyman, it just feels like, and I don't know if you will agree with me on this, but it just feels like he's kind of like trying to be like Triple H from like Evolution, but like the 2025 version. And
Which
it's just
makes
like
no
not,
sense.
and it's just like not hitting.
No.
And Braun Breaker, and I see what you mean when you said what you said about Braun Breaker, and especially with Bronson Reed too. Like especially with him because he just came back from a super major injury from War Games, and he gets put into this prominent position, and it feels like this like big moment happened. All of them came together, but then like ever since then, it just feels like nothing that they've been doing has really been like sticking the landing, so to speak.
Man, that's Eric, you really eloquently put all of that, and there's so much like more I think with it, like of why I have an issue with it. It's like you touched on Paul Heyman. There's no less of a Paul Heyman guy than Seth Rollins if I had to pick out of a whole fucking roster. And that's not even disrespect to Seth Rollins. It's the fact that Paul Heyman is a mouthpiece for guys that like at first just can't really construct what they're trying to say. And I'm not saying that like Brock and Roman couldn't talk because they both ended up being like great talkers in their own right. But if you hear the like what Seth Rollins is saying, like, and this is part of why I didn't like the heel turn at first of how they went about it. If you're gonna heel turn someone, then lean into the fucking heel turn. Like when he is showing up on Raw with the same entrance music, he's still implying the fans to dance with him. He's still doing the the all this stuff that like a baby face does, and then he's saying the reason I did it is to protect the industry. That doesn't sound very heel like. Just like say like fans, I was fucking with you the whole time. I never needed you. Like I've always been like the best in the game. Like all I care about is titles, and just because you guys like me doesn't mean I respect you guys back. Like just shit like that. But like I still don't even get what the point of their whole group is. He's saying like we're here here's the face of the industry with like Bronson Reed, who's in his late 30s, and Seth's in 40s, and they have Paul Heyman, and it's like you have Bronson Reed, who just got done kicking the shit out of Seth less than a year ago, 6 months ago. Um, and then Braun Breaker, who would never get along with Seth in any situation. Like they couldn't be more different of dudes. It feels like what you said, Eric. It's like they're
Okay,
trying to
real quick.
recreate.
Also, what's up with him actually like barking at people and acting like a literal dog now? I don't
It's
like
weird.
that.
It's
Yeah, I don't
weird.
like that either.
Like
All of it.
why? Come on.
They're leaning
No,
too much.
and
They're leaning too much into that now.
yeah, and I'm going to finish my point here, Shane, because I know it's been long-winded. But what Eric said, I completely like agree is right. Like it's like they're trying to recreate Evolution, but like it's 2025 and it's not even close to hitting because Seth's just not Triple H. And I'm not saying he's not a better worker than Triple H, but like his he just should not be with Paul Heyman and he should not be the leader of some faction. Like Seth's the perfect out in the wild individual heel, just like a Randy Orton. Like they don't need to be with all these people to win. Like I just never
Yeah, because it's
I
not even like his character even changed. You know what I
never.
mean? Like he joined this
Yeah.
faction and like he didn't like change anything about himself. Like
No.
it kind of leaning into what you said, Steve. Like nothing changed about his entrance music. He still tries to get babyface reactions whenever he comes out to for the whoa thing. And then he at the end when he is like trying to cut his promo when he gets boozed, he then talks to the crowd and he's like, "Oh, you guys don't know to cheer me or whether to boo me." And it's like, bro, you don't know whether to convey whether you want to
Yeah,
get cheered or booed.
that's what I thought.
You
I
know what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. No, I think the tag team of Braun and Bronson with Paul Heyman managing them is fire.
That's
I
fire.
love that idea.
I
Just
agree.
take Seth out
Agreed.
of the equation. That's really
Yeah.
all you need to do. And then have another, like, I don't know who you put as the main guy necessarily, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you could do something like that. Like, you could have like another main guy, like that's just some badass dude or whatever, you know what I mean? Not Gunther, but somebody like a Gunther, you know, something like that. And then
Yeah.
you can make that shit work, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you have like on the other side on SmackDown the other trio that you could do because you know New Day was a trio, so you could have like essentially like WWE's Death Triangle where you could have Penta Ray and then throw Andrade in there, and then boom, that would be a fire
Yeah. I
trio.
mentioned that earlier. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier to you, Shane. I would
Yeah, that's what I'm
based
talking
off of
about.
what I
I
saw
gave you the
tonight.
credit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, I would love to see that trio.
Yeah, for sure. There's some there's some dope shit that could definitely be coming out of this. I think we just got to get past a couple of stories. I think, and you know, it's not too late to you know what I mean to revamp a couple of things. Like they're early enough in that whole Seth story to I don't know, like
Get
change
back on
course.
track.
Again,
Yeah.
I like the bronze together. Braun and Bronson, keep that going.
More of
Keep
that. More of that. Tag
and keep
champions.
Paul with them. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
I
saying?
also just think that Paul Heyman is smart enough to see when shit isn't working, and he will probably figure it out faster than anybody
Yeah.
else will.
I hope he
He-
has the creative license to do so on because I don't know who the Raw writers are. Like I know Road Dogg's doing SmackDown and he's doing a really good job. So, you know, they need more of that influence on Raw, I think. Like,
You can see Paul Heyman like in storyline when like Seth has his arm around him. He's like, I don't fuck with this dude at all.
yeah.
Like he's thinking about Roman Reigns. Like you tell it in his mind. He's just like, could be back to Roman Reigns.
Right.
For real.
He's
He
like,
misses Roman so much.
we can't bring Brock back still? No. Okay. All right. Let me know when we can. Like
Right.
Drew. That's their guy. Replace Seth with Drew.
That should have
That
been
would
it
be
all along.
awesome.
That should
That
have
would
been it
be
That's
all
their
along.
guy.
awesome.
That's their big monster, badass main event guy. And then that makes sense to have him with Paul because that's the type of dude that Paul Heyman will manage.
Yeah.
Roman, Brock, him.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because Paul could still talk for Drew, but Drew could also just be like same thing with Roman.
I was gonna
No,
say,
it's-
yeah, it would be
it's-
like
Let me
that
Roman.
let me get that
That's-
mic and
that's
just
what made it
let me
great.
cut loose.
That's what
Yep.
that's what made it great, Eric, is like, and that's why I agree with Shane's point about like Drew really should, you know, if it's not too late, he should be the guy because like you saw it with Roman, like they got into a mode for like 2.5, 3 years where like you know they were going to the ring, you know Paul was gonna start talking and it was gonna be entertaining because he'll start popping this shit, and then you knew he was handing that mic to Roman, he was about to start cooking motherfuckers for 10 minutes and flexing. And it's like Drew's at that point now where like if you do that with him, like he'll have you entertained and you're gonna feel what he's saying. You'll believe it too.
Yep. Yep. Shout out my boy
100%.
Drew.
Shout out
All
Drew.
right, y'all.
Yeah, shout out Drew.
Shoot Style Sessions. Make sure you follow us. All of our socials are right there at the bottom on the lower third. Please make sure you also follow Ethos Media Network on all platforms. We'll catch y'all at Night of Champions, and we'll be back with our review and with what's going on next week, because there's even more. We got All In, Saturday night's main event, Evolution, whatever the fuck the NXT show is, Great American Bash, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot
I
of
believe
shit
so.
going
Yeah.
on next
Yeah.
week.
July
so.
is a busy month. Yeah. July
Yeah,
gonna be a
stupid busy,
month.
and it's my birthday coming up
There we
soon. So
go.
we got it's a lot of shit going on. So follow us, subscribe, all the shit. We appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Peace.